Hi, my name is Edwin Moses, and I'm very happy to announce that I will be a speaker in SIGA Sports Integrity Week. There would be no better time to discuss some of the wide ranging issues in sports that are happening today. Everything from drug testing to racism around the world, Black Lives Matter, the COVID epidemic, and other areas of leadership. All this is happening at a time in which we are having a tremendous amount of strife all over the world, and there's no better time to deal with these issues. So I'm urging you to tune in. I'll be there to share some of my views, personal views, and anecdotes, and I look forward to seeing you the first week of September online. Thank you.
Well, I certainly hope one of those anecdotes is this story. See, the thing I don't like about Edwin Moses, I never liked about him, was how he always tried to play this holier than thou thing, where he would try to make it seem like he was so great and he wants to eradicate track and field of drugs and things like that. When he himself it came along at a time where there was no drug testing, there was no out of competition drug testing. And so, you know, on this article on January 14th, 1985, this is while he was advocating for drug testing and trying to get other people busted for just trying to feed their families and become better athletes back in the 80s. Um, this was an article on him. This is says Olympic track star Edwin Moses arrested. It says a man identified as Olympic track hero Edwin Moses has been booked for investigation of soliciting a policewoman for prostitution. Edwin Courtney Moses was arrested early Sunday morning during a Hollywood prostitution suite, said Sergeant David Young of the Hollywood Division. A very small amount of marijuana also was found in Moses' car, said Police Commander William Booth. But he said Moses would not be booked for that, commenting he's been booked for all he's going to be booked for. Young said the arresting officers and others at the police station confirmed the man was the track star. The man's description and date of birth were identical to Moses. It's him, Young said. The arresting officers recognized him. A recording answered the telephone at Moses' home where the message was left seeking comment. Soliciting after prostitution is a misdemeanor that carries a $500 fine and or 6 months in jail. Moses 28 has long been the dominant 400-meter hurdler in the world. He won his second Olympic gold medal at the Los Angeles Games this past summer after having captured his first in the 1976 Olympics in Montreal. So that's the article. I've always, I try to always give respect to the elders, everybody. I feel like it's very important that we respect our elders. But the problem that I do have is when our elders do not, when they always act holier than thou. That's the problem I have. That's the problem I have because he back like the way he was, and he was a part of it. He was a part of it. He benefited heavily from not drug testing. Let's remember he won his Olympic gold medals in 1984 and 1976. So he came at a time where there was no out of competition drug testing. So for him to be the man preaching all this moral, moral purity and all these other things, I always felt like, you know, from my understanding, it always seemed to be um disingenuous. I always feel like he's engaged in this type of behavior while preaching. I've always felt like that to be weird. I've always felt it to be weird, and I've always wanted to know why. What else is he hiding? What else is he lying about? To go out so far to continuously, not for 1 year, not for 2 years, but just repeatedly out there trying to get guys who get caught um using drugs busted. And he's a part of the game too. That's the crazy thing. So with that being said, you know, uh, not long after that, of course, he was in another situation. And the situation came about when he went to trial for the prostitution episode. Now he can, do what he wants. If he want to go get something on the strip in a late night creep, fine, go do that. But don't go around making it seem like you holier than thou and everybody else is just, messed up and twisted. Don't do that. I think that's wrong. So he went to trial. He went to trial. And just about a month later, what occurred was this. So they said Moses' win streak still intact. This is on February 16th. This article came out of 1985. Moses' win streak still intact. Olympic gold medalist Edwin Moses may have cleared the biggest hurdle of his public career. The 29-year-old Moses, who won gold medals in 2 Olympics in the 400-meter intermediate hurdles, was acquitted Friday of a charge of soliciting prostitution from an undercover policewoman. The charge was a misdemeanor, but it had threatened not only to tarnish the reputation of one of America's best-known athletes and Olympic heroes, but also to damage his future ability to make a living through commercial endorsements. Although Moses left the courtroom without commenting, one of his attorneys, Harold Lipton, said, "We couldn't be happier." Moses, who won his last 109 hurdle races, smiled and joked with his wife, Mariella, his mother, and attorneys as he made his way to his car 20 minutes after the verdict was read. The track star was overheard asking Lipton to obtain the names and addresses of the 12 jurors so he could send them a note of thanks. Lipton said he would. As the group waited at a crosswalk for the traffic signal to change, 3 people approached Moses to congratulate him. 2 shook Moses' hand, and he thanked the 3. After the verdict was read in municipal court, jury foreman Harvey Adelman said the phrase "beyond a reasonable doubt" was a key in the panel's unanimous verdict. The jury deliberated for about 2 hours and 20 minutes. There are doubts about the solicitation, doubts about the intent. Adelman, 58, a professor in research and statistics at Pepperdine University in Malibu. Moses, who won gold medals at the 1976 Montreal Olympics and the 1984 Los Angeles Games, smiled widely and hugged another of his attorneys, Edward Medvine, when he heard the decision. The courtroom filled with applause. When asked if he expected the verdict, Lipton nodded his head, but would make no further comment. Deputy City Attorney Edward J. Guarino declined to comment initially, but later talked to reporters, noting that Moses' popularity might have had a bearing on the outcome of the case. Juror Albert Moreno said the first poll of the 12-member jury was 10-1, with one abstention in favor of acquittal. The second ballot was unanimous. Jury Craig Weller backed the foreman's statement, saying that the thought that there was a possibility that solicitation occurred. And let me see what the rest of it. Let me see if I can find the rest of it. Let me see if there's more on that article. Well, you guys get the point. And the point is, in this particular context, with this particular fella, it always begs me to just get a full understanding of why in the world this guy would, why he acts like that. Why is this, just try to then for him to turn around and not only, um, not only, uh, for him to just turn around and want everybody see everybody get caught. He wants to see everybody get busted. So, uh, this is the article. I'm sorry, guys. I found it. Let me put it back here so you guys can see the rest. Okay, so this is the part of the article from different, but he just talked about how he was acquitted. Medvine said the prosecution failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Moses solicited the undercover policewoman. We want you to treat him like you treat yourself. They haven't met the burden. They haven't proved their case. It's a misdemeanor charge, but this is a felony to Mr. Moses in terms of importance. Moses had faced 6 months in jail sentence and $1,000 fine if convicted. Although first-time offenders usually are given small fine and placed on probation, Moses told the jury Thursday that in the early morning hours of January 13th, Gonzalez approached him and mentioned 2 sex acts, and that after speaking with her briefly, he drove away. Moses said he struck up a conversation with Gonzalez because he thought she was a fan who had recognized him. Now, let's just make sure you guys remember this. This is in the early morning hours of January 13th. So he thought it was a fan that recognized him. Okay. I left the scene immediately. I had no intention of stopping. When I turned to the corner, I started accelerating. I just left. On Tuesday, Gonzalez testified, and Gonzalez is the undercover cop. On Tuesday, Gonzalez testified that Moses initiated the conversation by saying, "Nice night," and that he pulled his car to the curb and waved over to her. She also said that Moses asked her how much for an hour and described the sex acts he wanted, and he mentioned $100. Moses, who had a promotional contract with Kodak, has been a spokesman for the American Cancer Society and the United Way, is currently under contract to Adidas and has not lost a 100-meter race since 1977. So good old Edwin Moses wanted to pay $100. This dude didn't want to pay top dollar. He wanted bottom dollar. He wanted $100, and he said, "Nice night." Right? How much for an hour? How much for an hour? And he said he wanted, he wanted his thing, he wanted his thing. And this is his wife right here. I know he's all for black causes and all that, but he definitely had, he definitely was married to a white woman or whatever. That's what we love. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what he wants. But it just showed what type of brother he is. It definitely showed what type of brother he is. So I thought it was just weird, But this is one of the many examples of the dark side of track and field, and it just shows that a lot of guys who are in the sport are flawed. Nobody's perfect, despite their record, despite what they do on the track. They're human, just like everybody else. And I just thought his case is extremely interesting. Anyway, this has been another episode of The Biggest Hater in Track and Field. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.